So we're talking about the human race, but we're talking about healers and like life coaches and guides and spiritual guides and any kind of person who's there to help you. Can't backtrack too much. I'm in the realm of quantum physics at this moment. So quantum physics can help us understand how we impact other people and how much we can help other people and where that help comes from, and kind of like the construct, that the overarching construct that kind of runs that mechanism for humans. So imagine first a sphere full of billions and billions and billions of other little spheres that are in like kind of, it's not random. You can imagine it like moving through that, within that sphere in kind of a fractal pattern. And there's billions of tiny spheres. We'll just imagine them as little metal spheres, like shotgun round, but like something way more beautiful. Anyways, like platinum spheres is what we're going to be. So this whole universe is that sphere, and then each one of us is a tiny dot, and like each plant is a tiny dot, and then you have this earth, and all that it's made of is one of those fractal arms. And then there's like millions of fractal arms, right? And then like the galaxies are like a pattern of several arms, and they're all like moving together in this beautiful play and orchestra. And it's gorgeous. Lights, shapes, colors, tune, like harmonics. And so then when you get into our fractal arm of Earth and all the beings in it, like you are somewhere in that big sphere of the universe, right? And God is both all of it, and he's at the very center. The God light is at the very center, and then the dark edges of like kind of that's farther away from the God center, the darker it gets. But the whole sphere of the light and the dark are the universe and are all God, because God is in everything. But then there is a God consciousness, like what we think of as God and our creator. That consciousness is located at the center, focused and located at the center, having a view of it all, the center view of the whole, of everything that holds it, but looking at it from that center point, right? That's the God, the perfect God aspect that's orchestrating the divine intelligence, that's orchestrating all that is. So within that big fractal beautiful pattern that is the universe and cosmos and galaxies, we all operate according to the same universal laws. So what that means by the time we get down to here, we understand actually very little of what governs us truly and the mechanisms of how that works and how we can tap into that knowledge and use it for our greater good and understanding and moving through this world in a way that truly serves us. So God being the center, let's say we're like 2/3 of the way out here, and we kind of commonly know that we're on the not the outer edge of the universe, but we're more out than the middle. So we're in like the the latter 2/3, whatever, third of the way from the outside. I digress. So we're wherever in this part of the universe. This is just to like give you some geospatial cognition to get this, like we need that in our brains. We do. So we have the sphere, we have the God center point, we have Milky Way out here, and we're on Earth. And that is one leg of a larger fractal that is the Milky Way galaxy, but it's still part of the all of these dots are governed by the same, like, it's the Fibonacci sequence. It's, the designs we see in galaxies and in conch shells and in petals and broccoli and the pollen of a flower. Like, those are all the flower of life. Like, we have those geometric signatures within our body, like atoms and electrons and molecules. Like, it's happening in us already. So that's where we can see some of it, like, kind of, that's where we need to go. It's to that creative geospatial part of our brains, and include that with our brains can only really process it in a creative way. And so you delve into those realms with the intent to open your mind to creative space where you allow life to show you what it is. And that sounds so I don't know. I don't know what point that is. It doesn't seem like the point I was trying to make. Maybe I'm not supposed to make a point. At any rate, getting back to how we can help each other. All right. So kind of imagine, like, bring that kind of construct of, like, let's shrink that sphere down. Let's shrink that sphere down to humanity. We've shrunk it down to the earth, and then we've also, like, shrunk it down to the reason we can do that is that we are made in the image of God. So God is a sphere. This is like the quantum physics level of reality, that God is a sphere, and we are created in the image of God. So we are all versions of God on a different scale. So on that level, we also are a sphere, and we contain spheres and spheres and spheres inside of us. However, since we're an individual, one fractal of God, and there's, in reality, on the larger God scale, there are many, 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 many of us little spheres in close proximity to each other, we now see into a new level within spheres within the spheres. So I'm a sphere, you're a sphere, blah, 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 blah. And if I'm my own center in the likeness of God, then I see my entire universe from the center point of me, from where I am here. And everything that I look at has, if I have perfect Christ-like vision, I see all the way around the sphere at all points. I see that, like, projects like a single point in light, and I can see all of it. Now, very few people of us are there. Christ was there, Buddha was there, and even then, all the best that we can ever do is have perfect sight from our viewpoint. You will never have perfect sight from another person's viewpoint. You absolutely never ever will. It's not possible by universal law. And so that's something that many of us try to do, but will never, ever, 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 ever work, because it is against our nature, and it's not only against our nature, but it is in conflict. It is in conflict to universal law. Universal law directly negates that possibility. So that's a wonderful thing to understand and know, that if I was Jesus Christ himself incarnate, that I would never know truly his exactly what he sees and everything he sees. I know my truth, and I shine my perfection into the world. It's not perfection, but like the perfect, being able to see it all from this point. I can see it all. I don't have any blind spots. I don't hold any distortions in what I see. However, my point being out here 2/3 of the way to the edge of God means that innately everything in our earth sphere holds about a 2/3 level of distortion from the perfection of seeing everything in the beauty of God and how God sees it, and understand, like, being able to see everything and whatever. So, as a healer, you can only ever reflect back into them what you see in the clarity of your sight, and what you have to offer from your vantage point. That's all you can offer them. Now, it might be like, if you're Christ, it's like 1,000,000 times better than what anyone else can offer you. So you appear, you can do miracles, and you can change the lives of others. And so you can do amazing things with even like half of your like spherical sight. If all of that is open and clear, if 50% of that is open and clear, you're already kind of like a miracle. It's not kind of. You're a fucking miracle already on this planet. And you're a prophet, most likely. So most of us are operating in like 10%. The average person is 5 to 10%. We don't really have to go into why. I can go into that another time. And it's nothing like, that's kind of why God doesn't judge us, because he understands, like, this shit has been put on them by the universe, like things that were put into motion way before they came along, and they're doing their best. But with this 10% that this person can see, 1% that person can see, 15% that person can see, that's where humanity's been. So now, like, even Buddhas were, and some, I don't know, I don't want to say that, I don't want to start assigning numbers to deities. Anyways, that is not for me to say, because I can't see from this vantage point, and that would be full of distortion, so it's not for me to say. Anyways, we're kind of, so you can gauge, like, people that are life coaches often don't fit the norm of the Western medicine community for how to help a person. And how to help a person when the Western medicine has a big old fucking blind spot, big old dark spot. It like can't see over here at all. Can't see in this entire quadrant of humanity and what human beings need to be truly healthy and happy and see clearly. Like, this is all gone right here. It's not included in what Western medicine does. It's more like half. So half of it's missing, and life coaches are at least another quadrant, filling in the gap for what's missing. And so they're generally, it's newer, kind of out there, or more spiritual stuff, that actually, if you're from the Western world, the Eastern world tools are going to be more effective in opening your blind spots, simply because that's what you're missing. That's what you can't see. And those tools open up, like, those cultures developed on that side of the sphere. And so they automatically have tools that work for this part of human beingness and exist. Like, what we're made of over here is supported by the tools that were developed in the Eastern countries. Western countries support the physical and just the external, like, America. It's that shit we're real good at, giving you lots of space, spoil you. Oh yeah, you don't have to do. But then it's also the work hard ethic. So I don't know, like, I mean, that's not really, I'm not meant to define those things right here. I'm just kind of trying to put some perspective around it so it brings it a bit out of the ethers into something we can tangibly understand. Yeah, I feel like there's more, but anyways, you're kind of like, these people will come into your life almost by synchronicity, and so Pay attention to the synchronicities, and sometimes the right people you're going to hold at arm's length because there's a big part of you that doesn't want to get better, because doesn't trust better, and whatever from what you've learned out of this hole that you can see, like, it doesn't feel safe, and so you don't. But life will crack you open if you run too far that way, and it's really what you need is time to fucking get there. They'll be like, sorry, I love you, but and your fucking psyche's gonna crack open. Like, maybe somebody dies, maybe you get PTSD, maybe you get fucked up on drugs on top of that, maybe you can't work anymore, and maybe you have to rely on everybody to take care of you when all you know how to do is take care of yourself, and the way you were taught to be isn't the way you were meant to be. And now we have to break ourselves all the way back to square one so that we can rebuild again. And do you know how fucking hard that is to, like, yeah. So it doesn't feel better. Like, if you're going to somebody only on the pretense that if I don't feel better, it is not helping. If I don't feel better, like, immediately after doing it for 1 second, then it's not what I need, then you're going to have to get broken before you can use that tool. And it's going to happen, but the sooner you will allow that to happen and stop fighting it, the minute all you can really do is stop fighting life. Stop fighting what's coming to you. Start trusting that even the shitstorm is for your highest good, and step into it with courage and radical acceptance, because you're going to be wrong like 10 ways to Tuesdays about most of what you think most of the time. Like, because backwards is forwards to get out of that. It's not a linear path. So this is all quantum realm shit. And all this stuff is being pulled on by God in the quantum realm from the center, who can see you out here in completeness and sees exactly where you are and knows exactly how to play that tune and harmonize those chords to bring you into accordance with your highest good and what serves your greatest good and what gets you on the track that you're not stuck anymore, and that you're not going down this, that you're starting to move back towards into the light instead of out into the darkness, because it is time. We're all raising like a harmony octave. Like, the whole universe is raising. I don't know if it's an octave, but it's like that. We're raising in harmony and vibration to a higher state of being in harmony. Like, the whole, it's the lumens, the light in the whole sphere is being turned up. We're evolving into a more benevolent, like, there will be less darkness in the entire universe, and it's the Great Awakening. We're all moving into heaven on earth, where the whole sphere will be light. I still have some kind of like, don't judge the darkness, don't judge the darkness. The darkness is important. We must have balance. And there's something that's still a distortion that I hold, that I can't quite wrap my head around, the value of the dark. Without the dark, there is no light. And so no matter what games we want to play around light and the dark and what's good and bad and what should I be doing and run from what doesn't feel good. You're supposed to make yourself feel better. Blah, blah, blah. We can play like 1,000 mind games around all that shit. But the reality is, on the quantum God universal creation, like how what we're created and designed to be and what's happening, is that there is no light without the dark. This is our fucking universe. There is light, there is dark, and there's the play. Unity consciousness. So unity, rather than getting lost out here, there's a aspect of every single one of us that's being pulled to center. So all of those billions of spheres, this is a returning home. That it's time to report back, that the age is over. And so we all send a little piece of ourselves back. This has already happened. It's already been sent back. And so God, that quantum entanglement is, since God sent us all out from the beginning, we have quantum entanglement with him, with God. It's not him, but I'm saying that because that's how we say. So that quantum entanglement is now being pushed with the light codes from God, source, center, the creator, and of all, this universe of everything that is sending out the codes. Like, it's a harmonization. It's like light. It's, the universe is made of, like we said before, shapes, the fractal patterns, the infinite intelligence of that beauty. I keep losing it, man. It's just hard to put into words. So it's like tone, like the music of the spheres. That is going to so it's actually moving all the time, right? But that play of where it's moving is shifting up. And with that, octave is also a light lumen. There will still be light and dark, but we're leveling up to a resonance that is heaven on earth. It is, for us, heaven on earth. For this entire universe, heaven on earth. It will be a universe of heaven on earth. So even the dark will be playing a much nicer game of dark. It won't be demons and death and gore and horror. Like, that will be flushed out, and we no longer exist there. It exists outside of our macrosphere of this universe. I don't need to go into that part, but we're raising, our whole sphere is like moving up here. And so things we're leaving behind, as I already said, are starvation, violence, crime, murder. I mean, death, of course, still happens, but it won't freak us out. It won't terrorize us. It won't traumatize us. We'll understand the bigger picture. And so God is like sending out the information that we need to get there. And every one of us needs a little bit something different. But since we're up here in this little part of the galaxy, like all of Earth kind of needs the same, like there's a sphere of what Earth needs, and then every single tiny sphere that is you, me, plant, rock, tree, water, like, every little sphere on Earth needs a little bit something different. But it's all within that, like, we're in our packet, our Gaia packet. So, me as a healer, for instance, I have this much. Me, where I am, and who I came from, and like by now we're all like mixed up, because wherever we were sourced on this planet, we've moved all over the fucking place, and so we're all a hodgepodge. And that's part of why Earth is so important, is because we're coming to unity from being like seated with every like aspect of our greater universe. Like, that's neither here nor there right now. But so we are a melting pot. So America being a reflection of the external is that we are a melting pot, and Earth is a melting pot for the galaxy, or for the universe more like. So, and it's on some similar scale. We humans might not have enough of those levels understood to accurately talk about it. So there's probably several levels in between there, and we're that for one of those levels anyways. And so there's a large part of the universe that is us transcending, sends out like a shockwave to everyone that seeded us, that releases them from that level of darkness, from that octave of reality. But we all must move out of that. There's some slip across time and space and dimensions. There's some slip. And so, but we're moving into where you're allowed to kind of move back and forth and not quite nail it down. And but there will be soon. I mean, that's why honestly a lot of deaths have occurred, because this is a highly volatile time. It's accelerated evolution and shit gets rough, yo. So if people need to go early, or if a lot of souls need to go for certain reasons to affect humanity on like a global scale, such as a pandemic, and a lot of people do need to die to make this real, like it's that real. Like, this is happening, y'all, and it's happening in epic proportions and in things that we can't control. And that's why all of the prophecies saw an Armageddon. But in reality, the worst is over. Like, there's still fucked up shit going on for sure, but the worst is over. We are not going to Armageddon. The light has already, like, the mass, critical mass, if you want to speak in like nuclear physics terms, the critical mass has already tipped. And so it's building on itself. The light is getting brighter and brighter and brighter, and there's no turning back. So there's still enough of that real dark that is demons and torture, and that's why we're seeing fucking Putin do another genocide. It still exists in our fucking collective, and I'm getting, there's that. It's right there. We couldn't see. That's the last place we couldn't see as humanity. And so it's happening again, and we're all fucking looking at it, and this time we're like, no motherfuckers, there's no part of this that's okay. And us, humanity, we say, fuck you, get the fuck out, you're done. So if that's what humanity needs to, like, we're there, we're ready to see. Now we've healed enough and shifted enough into a lighter frequency of resonance of how we operate in that fractal God code that includes this much dark and this much light. You know, it's still God's plan, but that demon gets real fucked up, you know, like real fucked up shit happens, serial killers and mass shootings. And so now that we're ready to see that stuff and be able to do something about it in a real way, we're ready and we're doing it. So we still have to see it one last time. The way we shift is by making different choices. By this time we see it and we see what to do, and now we move forward without the distortion that, like, we're no longer reflecting that dark back. So if you see that dark and you no longer reflect that dark back, then you have removed your resonance to that, and you're no longer going to hold that dark. You're going to hold some other dark, but not that dark. Because we can't just be light, because that's not the universe. It's not how it works. You're going to fuck yourself up if you do that. You're going to get stuck over here in the pendulum swing. The harder you push up here, the bigger that pendulum swing is going to be. And when you hit that, like, that's another, like, momentum, inertia, like, what swings forward must swing back. Yeah, and we're in a dual universe, so there's always the only way, the middle path, that's why it's called the middle path, is that did you see that? Oh, I fucking saw that. The middle path goes right through, and that's how you avoid the pendulum swing that pulls you off your game and gets you all fucked up, and that's dis-ease. That's when you're out of resonance with your center. So that it is quite literally coming to your heart center is your geospatial point of where that God spark exists, of where that God quantum connection exists back to source of all it is, the one God. We can also call that the universe, because it is the universe at large. But when you say the universe, you could kind of look at it as it's the whole thing. And anywhere, like, that's fine. That's good. That's wonderful. When you're seeing the whole, you are whole beinged. So you're then another reflection of God, or acting within another realm of reflecting God. And so you'll innately take on more of his qualities and express and experience with more of his qualities. I should stop saying his. Christ-like qualities. For us on earth, it's Christ-like qualities. Yeah. Because he was a perfect version. He slipped out of it occasionally. I'm not going to start picking apart stories and fuck with your beliefs, but yeah. But he was still Jesus. I mean, come on, right? But also, fucking grain of salt right here. Just remember how people treated him back then, okay? The next time that you want to disbelieve someone's truth that's way the fuck out there, and the next time that you want to say that someone else's version of God is wrong and sinful, just remember that the way they treated Jesus back then, we have to do that different too, to make it real for everybody. We have to do that different too. We have to be willing to see the God in something that we believe is sin. We have to be able to see that God is in there, and it's not them that's fucked up. It's our job to see the divinity in there. So what I see as the devil can be someone else's savior. Like, alcohol to me right now is the devil. I'm trying really fucking hard to get away from it, and I hate that all my friends are alcoholics right now. But their alcohol provides a service on this world right now that I can't even fathom. I can't understand. But right now, that's a motherfucking devil to me, and you can't tell me really any different, because I see it destroying people's lives, and I see it getting in my way, and I want it the fuck out of my life, right? And so someone may feel that way about anything, and that's fine. But if you start projecting that towards someone who's coming out as Jesus Christ in, say, the rainforest, and he's a shaman and comes out and knows exactly what each person needs, because he can see from his perfect, the God spark is wide open, and he's not getting in the way anymore. But it's still limited to his perspective, but he's still going to have at least one thing for everything in that sphere that is good and right for them. But the majority, all the people who see him as darkness within that sphere, are going to judge him and think that he's a false prophet and curse him. And in the past, we burned a lot of fucking witches, right? Like, we killed these people for a long time. And now we don't kill people like that, but we certainly fucking shut them down. We certainly shut them down. So we've got to stop doing that. At least it's obvious we're improving. We're getting to less and less extreme levels. Like, now we're persecuting people verbally, instead of killing them. We still are killing them in the streets sometimes, like racial murder. Yeah, we're still doing it. It's just not as rampant. We're doing it about different things. And so this is like, that's how I want you to see. Like, let's start looking at the patterns. The patterns are how we look into that God life, that God essence, that God intelligence that exists within all things, is creatively seeing the pattern and starting to be able to, like, not deconstruct the world, but like just start understanding a geospatial relation to everything. Like, it needs to be in those terms, like, it's creative, blah blah blah. Like, quantum physics is great. And I'm spent.